Um, so yeah, we didn't really use protected sex. I'm not going to go into it about the whole relationship. It was just really dark, fights all the time, drama, just craziness. And just one day, I just decided, after feeling like I was being played and looking stupid because there were so many red flags, and people were telling me he was cheating, and here I am acting like Tina Turner, staying by my man's side, looking crazy as hell. I This one day I just was like, screw it. So that was like maybe November of 2010. I just walked away, and even after I walked away, I was still lazy about my testing. And after the fact, I found out he was sleeping around with pretty much all of this area, which sucks. But you know, I had the potential to stop that, and I had the potential to protect myself, which I didn't. So please, 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 if you are with people and you know they're crazy, protect yourself. Especially when you're in areas like this area that has one of the highest um, infection rates in the nation. If you're in a bad area, regardless of where you're at, but especially if you're in a bad area, please protect yourself. I mean, it's just crazy not to. And I mean, I say that now, but before I understand how fearful it is to go into a CVS, or how intimidating it can be to go to a store and get a condom or a thing of condoms. But now at the clubs they give them out. You could probably buy them online with Amazon. They're probably cheaper that way. Do it. Just buy your condoms. Protect yourself. Anyway, I during that time I got a really bad tonsillitis to the point where my tonsils got black, like straight black. And my doctor, I went to the emergency room, and the doctor that saw me didn't ask me for an HIV test, and he was just like, "Oh, you got tonsillitis, and so we need to give you some antibiotics and schedule to get those taken out." So I scheduled took my antibiotics, it got better, and I scheduled my tonsillectomy and adenoidectomy. But still, even before surgery, no one asked me about my status. And again, during that time, if you did not ask me, I wasn't pressed on the issue. I guess it wasn't. I guess it was one, I didn't want to know, really, to be honest with you, because I didn't want to think about it. There was too many things in my life going on, and two, it was just like I had this Superman complex train of thought, which I mentioned in my first video. Where I think I'm just invincible. Through my life, even now, I've never broken a bone. I've never really been deathly ill. I've never had any serious medical conditions. And so really, I didn't think that I could be affected. And even as a black gay man, I still felt like I was not going to be affected. I was the last person to be affected by this virus, by this condition. So I got my tonsillectomy and adenoidectomy. I had complications during my recovery period, which should have been a warning sign, but still no one asked me to get tested. And a couple months after that, I started to develop a really bad cough, and to the point where I couldn't even run on the treadmill for maybe like a quarter of a mile without having severe headaches, trouble breathing. A couple times I pretty much like passed out. And I went to one day, my job sent me to urgent care. They were like, you need to go get seen. So I went, and, they told me I had asthma. Like, you have asthma. So, or athlete's asthma, or bronchial irritation. So they gave me an inhaler. And I'm not a medical professional, so I'm like, well, they must know what they're talking about. So I get my little prescription, get my little inhaler, and I'm puffing like, Aretha Franklin at a concert on our oxygen. And, I started to feel better. Well, it came back with some fierce anger because that cough, that infection, whatever I had, put me to the point where I couldn't even talk without having a conversation. I would try to talk to you, and I was having coughing fits. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even walk from here to this door without struggling to breathe, and, really struggling. That's how bad it was. I went back to the doctor again, and they told me the same thing. You have bronchial irritation. So this is around like November, and so I told myself, something was up. I started to see at this time, I was getting into another relationship. My testing, to be honest with you, still wasn't that perfect. I don't think I was getting tested at all, to be honest with you, pretty much. And so I got into this relationship. I was getting happy. I was getting comfortable. I was sick as a dog. And at that point, I started to care more about myself. And I told myself, I'll give myself 2 weeks. If this doesn't get better, I have to go see somebody. So I get the strength one day. Well, let me backtrack. I go to work one day. My bosses are out, and I like to get on YouTube at work sometimes. It's my little secret obsession. So I get on YouTube, and I notice that there's like a live streaming webcast about World AIDS Day. This is December 1st. And I start to watch it, and I have this internal conversation with myself. And I told myself, if you don't go get tested today, you're gonna be apathetic, and you're gonna be in denial for the rest of your life. And no matter what a doctor tells you, no matter what a test result tells you, you will not believe it. And at that point, I had to make a really adult and brave decision. And at that point, I was like, I don't feel good. I'm losing weight. I lost at that time I was weighing at that time, before I started to get sick, I was weighing 180. I dropped to like 165, pretty much. And, I wasn't feeling good. I look good. People like myself, when we start losing weight, you feel like, Mariah Carey off the Jenny Craig diet. But it wasn't healthy. And the fact that that time, too, I was taking diet pills. So imagine with my immune system being sped up, it's with the virus in it. It was horrible. I was sick as a dog. I was dying. And so I made the decision to go get tested. And, I went into the office. The first office I went to, the testing wasn't ready yet. And so I had to make another decision to go to the actual health department. And when I did that, I got there, and you get real nervous about it, because you're sitting there in a room full of people, and you're like, do they think I have HIV? Do they have HIV? Are people thinking that I have it? What are people thinking? You get really just paranoid about it. So I go back in the room, and she asked me some questions. I thought she was cool, and they prick your finger and put it in the tester, and I went back outside in the lobby, and that was like the longest 20 minutes of my life. When I compare it to the movie Precious, when she's like sitting out in the hallway, or the tone of the movie gets really dark and sad. I felt like that. I just felt like just a shadow just came over my head. And so 20 minutes or so goes by, and you see that the tester comes out, and she has this look on her face, and a counselor walks by, and counselor looks at her, and she kind of consoles her a little bit, and she goes about her way. And the tester comes and gets me, and she brings me back into the room, and I will never forget this. She looked at me, and she goes, "Well, how do you think you did, kiddo?" And at this point, I left work. I wasn't even supposed to be out of work. I just straight up left my job unattended. And I was like, I just need to know. Just tell me what it is so I can keep it moving. If I'm negative, I'm negative. If I'm positive, just tell me. And at that point, she said, "You're HIV positive." And at that point, I just broke down. I was just like, shoot, I knew it. I mean, my body had been telling me all this time that something was wrong, and I just kept ignoring it. And I kind of don't really talk about this. I'm getting kind of deep. But my body did what was telling me signs, and I just ignored those signs. And please, if your body is talking to you, please listen to it. If you feel sick, go to the doctor. I say this a lot now, but because I ignored my body, I really neglected my health. And that caused a lot of issues, like the cough and losing the weight. And so I broke down crying, and I had to tell my boyfriend at the time. And that was the news. Getting the news was the worst news so far in my life. My 23 years, at that time 22 years living on this earth, that was the worst news I've ever received in my life. I've had family members pass away. I've failed at dreams that I've had, but finding out I was HIV positive was the worst moment in my life. Second worst moment was having to call my partner, who was at work, drag him out of work, and call him and give him the news. And I called him, and I was like, I have bad news. I'm at the health department. I got bad news. Or I just told him I got bad news, and he was like, "Well, you're in a car accident?" I was like, "No." And he was like, "Are you fired?" I'm like, "No." He was like, "Oh shoot, don't tell me you have AIDS." And I was like, "Sorta." Found out I'm HIV positive, and he's freaking out. He gets on the road. He's driving straight to his doctor. So at this point, I'm like depressed. I call somebody who I think is my friend. And I start telling them, what's going on. Sidebar: if you just found out you're HIV positive, and I think people can tell you this, watch who you tell, especially because this is, for me, it was a very sensitive time, And for you, if you're just finding out you're HIV positive, it probably is a sensitive moment for you as well. Watch who you tell. Please don't tell the people who you go clubbing with. Please don't tell people who you think are going to be there for you. People who have been through there for you, like your family members. In some cases not, but if you have a really strong family unit or a really strong person in your life that has been there for you through ups and downs, yes, I feel like it's good to tell somebody when you're ready. But if it's somebody who you think is your friend, or you question just one thing about them, don't tell them. Don't make the mistake that I did. Anyway, I told this person, thinking it was going to be cool. That person's going to be there for me. And so I'll go into that later, maybe in another video. But, at that point, I was like, well, maybe it's not because I'm HIV positive. I have this cough. So maybe the cough has affected my T cell counts. And she was like, you're 99.9 positive. You can do a blood test, like they'll do blood work on it, and you can come back in 2 weeks and they'll let you know by then. But at this point, you're pretty much positive. Which she wasn't supposed to really say, but whatever. She kept it real. I was still pissed about it. So anyway, I go get my blood work done, and I go back into the office where I got my results at, and I'm sitting there, and she comes in and she's like, if you don't have any suicidal thoughts, you can leave. I'm like, the hell, like, I just found out I was HIV positive, heifer. Like, you gonna tell me to just leave if I'm not having suicidal thoughts? So anyway, so I was like, can I talk to somebody? This is some huge news that I'm getting, and I feel alone. Can I talk to somebody? Like the counselor I saw in the hallway. Oh, she's busy right now, but if you're not having suicidal thoughts, you can leave. So at that point, I kind of knew I wasn't wanted. So here I am, going to my car, having to drive back to work the remainder of my shift, which is like 5 hours, and it just, the news sucked, and in the days after, I just felt so alone, and it was a horrible time. And I had issues trying to get to a healthcare provider, and I'll tell you, that's one of the first things you want to do if you find out you're HIV positive. Find a healthcare provider, and you want to find a healthcare provider that specializes in HIV, infectious diseases. And I would say preferably go somewhere. I go to Whitman Walker. I'm proud to say that. That's a clinic, HIV, a clinic in DC, but they specialize in HIV, and that's a place that I go to. And I'm proud to say that. And if any of you need to go to an appointment, and if you need to go get tested, I will be right there. As long as you are in my area, or you're gonna give me a notice, I'll go. I can vow that to you. If you call me and say you need me to go with you, and I can make it happen, I will. Especially if you're in my area, or if you need to go see a doctor, hit me up. I'll help you. I'll do some research. I'll make some phone calls. But that's one of the first things you need to do, and that's one of the first things I did. I went and found a healthcare provider, and they took great care of me. The first thing that they did, they sat me down. They did my blood work. That blood work came back fairly quickly. I would say within like maybe 5 days. I found out that I had a CD4 count of 116, well below the 250. Usually your CD4 count's above 800. Mine was 116. So my T cells were, they were getting beat. My viral load was at 16,000. So they put me on Bactrim, which is it helps with infections and helping to get your T cells count up. And he gave me the option of going either on medication that they can prescribe, or going on a clinical trial. And I'll talk about that later in other videos, but I chose to go with the clinical trial. But it was a lot of blood work being done. I was seeing a lot of people. During that initial time I found out I was HIV positive, I went to the doctor a lot. And it was very draining. It was a very emotional time. And I tell you, by having a boyfriend that was supportive, it helped. And I found out on December 1st I was HIV positive. I told my parents and my family members, my close family, my more close family members, my brothers and my sisters. I told them I was HIV positive maybe 3 or 4 days before Christmas. And that sucked to do it that way, but I got to a point where I couldn't hold that secret anymore. And they were upset. My mom was crying. She thought I was going to die. My dad was just shocked. My sister was crying. My brother was crying. They thought I was going to die. And they feared for my life, and they that shows, how people aren't, and not in a mean way, but people aren't as educated about the progression on medication for HIV. Anyway, because I've been talking for 30 minutes, I told him, I told him I'm going to be fine. I'm starting medication soon. And that everything was going to be okay. And, they calmed down maybe 30 minutes. And, afterwards they said the same thing to me when I came out. We love you. You're part of our family. You're our son. You're our brother. You know, we love you, and we're going to support you and be there for you no matter what. We'll go to appointments with you. We'll do the AIDS walk with you. We'll do whatever it takes to show you that we're there for you and we're your number one fans. And that was awesome, because they didn't have to do that. They could have feared for my life. They could have pulled out the Bible and started throwing scriptures at me and condemned me to hell, but they didn't. And that is what so it's great about my family. They love me, and over the years, they've grown so used to me being gay, and they finally liked the person I was with, that they were more comfortable with it. But I will say, don't tell people until you're ready to deal with the reactions, because you don't want to. I know if I would have told my parents and they would have started crying and I would have started crying and freaking out, it would have made the situation so much worse. So, only when you're ready to tell people, tell people. And my caseworker I was assigned when I found out I was HIV positive told me this, and I continue to use this to this day. Kind of not now because I'm more comfortable, but in the beginning, she said, your HIV status is nobody's business. Even if you don't want to tell, you should tell your boyfriend, but if you're not having sex and you're not doing anything to put him at risk, it's nobody's business. I would say tell your boyfriend, though. I disagree with that, but you get the gist of it. Your status is your business. And don't run around telling everybody. Keep it to yourself until you're ready to talk about it, until you're ready to deal with it. Because there is still stigma out there to this day. And if you're not prepared for it, like in my case, which I'll talk about later, I wasn't prepared for it. It hits you, and you just don't know what to do. It's like, really? Like, we were friends for years, and now you want to treat me differently? So, just be prepared for it. Be ready. And, for people who are HIV negative and you're watching this video, know that we go through, HIV positive people first finding out, go through a lot. We're not changing as people. We're not becoming, distant because we don't like you anymore. It's just a lot to consume. And it's a change in one's life. It's a huge event, change. And you have to respect that. And, if someone told you that they're HIV positive, or just respect that. And, be there as a friend. Because you can't get HIV by hugging. You can't get HIV from somebody who's positive from hugging, from kissing, from drinking out the same glass. Educate yourself. But be there for those people, because, the people who have been there for me since the beginning, have been great friends. And my life maybe would have turned differently if I didn't have those people. So just bear that in mind. So I got on medication. And on January, I think I can tell you right here, let me check my computer, I keep notes. January 26th, 25 days after being diagnosed, I got on medication. And I found out maybe 2 weeks later, I would say maybe 3 weeks later, that my viral load dropped tremendously. My CD4 count was rising. By the second 4 weeks, I found out my viral load was undetectable, and my CD4 count was rising. To this day, today's the 5th of December, I have an undetectable viral load, and my CD4 count is, I would say, around 250. Me being stressed or sick really does affect it, and it could make it go down. And I've kind of been dealing with a lot of stress in my life right now, which is something that's not good. So if you have any HIV positive friends, please keep that drama low, because that can really hurt somebody who's positive. I know it has for me. It's really stressed me out and got me to be sick or affected my counts. So the stress, just, you got to keep it low. But, to this day, I'm healthy. I have pretty much a untraceable viral load of HIV in my blood. And my CD4 count is rising, and you look at me now. I mean, I look good. Got my muscles going on. Look, got my little double chin anymore. I look good. I would stand up, but I have underwear on. I'm not trying to do all that. But I look good, and I continue to work like a normal person. I wake up in the morning. I put on my shoes. I have good days and bad days. Some days I get up and I'm excited about life. Some days I get up and I think about having to take that pill. I take 4 pills, so take my 4 pills, and I just get depressed, and I just don't want to get out of bed. So I have a lot of up and down days, but I told you in the first video, December 1st, I was diagnosed on World AIDS Day, and so it's been 4 days since my year anniversary. I would say I am doing a lot better than where I was at, and I think some of my subscribers are dear friends of mine. I hope that many of you subscribe as well. But many of you who watch this video have been very key people in my life to keep me alive. I'm going to tell you right now, it was tough. And it's not really as physical as you think it is. HIV is very mental, and it can really take a strain on you. And I'll talk about it in a couple of the videos. I plan on doing another one maybe on Friday or Saturday. But, it's mental. It's very much mind over matter. And with dealing with stigma and dealing with, how people treat people who are HIV positive can really put one down, really depress somebody. But enough of that, Again, I'm HIV positive. I live an awesome life. I have great friends. I have an awesome social life right now. I have people in my life who need to be in my life, people that don't need to be in my life. And I'm good. I'm healthy, which is the number one thing. I care about my health more. As you see, I'm in my little gym outfit trying to get to the gym, get my workout on. Psych. But I need to. I did. But it's a blessing but a curse, because it got me to a point where I have to take care of myself now and be more responsible. And everybody should be doing that. Whether you're HIV positive or HIV negative, you should be taking care of yourself and working out and getting your workout on and eating healthy. Just bear that in mind. But again, I'm gonna close up. So that was a question someone asked. If you have questions about me with HIV, please ask me. Comment on it, spread the word about it. I'm not doing this for me, because I can sit down and call one of my friends and have this conversation all day long. I'm doing this to educate, and for people who are coming out or finding out they're HIV positive, to give someone to talk to, give somebody, you can talk to me, you can watch my videos, you can see how I dealt with it. That life goes on, it gets better. And for people who are negative or curious about me, you can ask the questions, and I can help as best I can educate you. If there's a question I can't answer, I'll find the answer. I'll direct you in the right way, or the right place where you can find your answer. So again, spread the word, subscribe. I really appreciate anyone who has watched this 38-minute video or even skipped parts of it. I appreciate it, because it means a lot. It takes a lot of guts for me, because I'm still dealing a lot with, being self-conscious. It takes a lot to do this. So if you take the time out to watch this, I love you for it. I truly, from the bottom of my heart, do. So thank you so much for watching the video. I'm going to have a couple more up. I'll take a day or two to kind of see if anybody has any questions or comments. And then maybe Friday evening, Saturday morning, I'll post another one. So it's good. I'm going to go eat my veggies and eat my fish and play some Call of Duty and hit the bed. So this is Patrick. I forgot my name. I think it's Pause Life of Patrick. So thanks for watching. Take care. You have a good evening, and talk to you soon.